Hi, hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel. We are back with the questions from Jurisprudence. Today's first question. What role does jurisprudence play in reforming legal systems? It helps identify inconsistencies or injustices and inspires legal reforms for greater equality and justice. How can jurisprudence influence the reform of property or constitutional law? It examines fairness and effectiveness, leading to changes that address societal needs. Why is jurisprudence essential for law students? It sharpens their analytical and critical thinking skills and helps them engage with complex legal issues. How does jurisprudence help in a legal practice? It deepens legal reasoning, enhances understanding of legal issues, and strengthens legal arguments in court. In what type of cases is jurisprudence particularly useful for lawyers? Constitutional and human rights cases, where theories of justice and rights play a significant role. How does jurisprudence contribute to social justice? It critically examines how law interacts with the power, inequality, and human rights to identify and challenge unjust laws. What kind of legal questions does jurisprudence explore in relation to marginalized communities? It questions whether laws treat all individuals equally and fairly. How does jurisprudence foster interdisciplinary thinking? It draws from philosophy, political science, sociology, economics, and history to understand law in a broader context. Why is an interdisciplinary approach important in jurisprudence? It helps legal professionals consider social, political, and economic factors that influence lawmaking and application. How does jurisprudence contribute to understanding global legal systems? It allows legal professionals to compare legal principles across different legal traditions and cultures. Why is a global perspective on jurisprudence valuable in international law? It helps navigate complex issues like human rights, international treaties, and a global trade law. What is the overall significance of studying jurisprudence? It provides theoretical tools to understand, interpret, and reform laws while promoting justice and a social order. Who benefits from studying jurisprudence? Law students, legal practitioners, scholars, and anyone interested in the intersection of law, ethics, and society. What is the primary purpose of jurisprudence? To provide the theoretical basis for understanding the nature, purpose, and function of law. What does legal positivism say about the connection between law and justice? It maintains that law is separate from justice and a law's validity depends on its enactment by a legitimate authority, not its moral content. How does John Rawls define justice? A fairness emphasizing equal opportunities and the fair distribution of resources. How can judicial interpretation impact the relationship between law and justice? Judges can interpret laws to ensure fair outcomes and align them with justice, especially in complex cases. What role does law play in protecting individual rights? It establishes legal protections against the violations of rights such as freedom and property rights. How do laws promote social welfare and equality? Through policies related to employment, healthcare, and education that aim to protect vulnerable groups. Give an example of a historical injustice where law did not align with justice. Racial segregation laws in the US before the Civil Rights Movement. How does jurisprudence help clarify legal concepts? By explaining fundamental concepts such as justice, rights, duties, and authority. Why is jurisprudence important for legal systems? It shapes the principles behind legal systems, enabling informed legal practices. How does jurisprudence assist in interpreting laws? It helps interpret laws in a light of a changing social, moral, and a political context. What are some frameworks used in legal interpretation? Textualism and purposivism. Why is jurisprudence relevant to judges and legal professionals? It provides tools for applying laws in a fair and relevant way. What does it mean when we say that a law is normative? It means that law sets out what ought to be done and is backed by the coercive power of the state. What are the three types of conduct legal rules indicate? Required, prohibited, or permitted conduct. How do natural laws differ from legal laws in terms of nature? Natural laws are descriptive, explaining how nature operates, while legal laws are prescriptive, establishing societal norms. Why are natural laws considered universal? They apply consistently in all places and at times, such as the law of gravity. Why are legal laws jurisdictional? They apply only within a specific state or legal system and can change based on legislation. How do natural laws differ from legal laws in predictability? Natural laws are deterministic and predictable, whereas legal laws can be subjected to interpretation and human judgment. How does jurisprudence contribute to legal reforms? By identifying areas of law that requires improvement or change. Why is jurisprudence essential for ensuring just laws? It promotes changes that reflects evolving societal needs such as human rights and equality. How does jurisprudence contribute to legal education? It enhances critical thinking and analytical skills. Why is legal reform necessary in some cases? To ensure that laws align with the evolving moral standards and principles of justice. What is an example of a legal system that actively aims to promote justice? The implementation of human rights laws in international legal frameworks. What is the ultimate goal of a just legal system? To create a fairness, equality, and protect individual rights within society. What fundamental questions does jurisprudence encourage students to explore? Not only what the law is, but why it is structured in a certain way. What is one key issue examined by jurisprudence regarding law and morality? Whether law should reflect morality or be separate from it. Why is the relationship between law and morality significant? It helps evaluate the justness of legal systems, especially in areas like human rights and criminal justice. How does the nature of study differ between social sciences and legal laws? Social sciences study human behavior and societal trends, while legal laws establish norms with clear legal consequences. Why do social sciences lack enforcement mechanisms? They describe and they explain societal phenomena without imposing penalties. What institution enforces legal laws? Legal laws are enforced by state institutions such as the police and courts. How does flexibility differ between social science laws and legal laws? Social science laws evolve naturally over time, while legal laws change through formal legislative processes. How does jurisprudence promote social justice? By highlighting inequalities and injustices in the legal system. What does jurisprudence advocate for in legal practices? Fairer legal practices, especially in addressing discrimination. What role does jurisprudence play in a global legal understanding? It compares different legal systems such as common law and civil law. How does jurisprudence support international cooperation? By helping navigate cross-border legal issues. How does jurisprudence help in legal conflicts? By providing tools for resolving conflicts between legal norms, rules, and societal values. How does history differ from legal laws in nature? History describes past events, while legal laws are forward-looking and aim to regulate future behavior.